Well, in the blink of an eye, October is halfway over. Today is the 15th, and it's a picture-perfect, beautiful October day. It's about 50 degrees right now. I think it's only supposed to be a high in the upper 50s. Sun's out, colors on the leaves are changing, and like I said, it's just absolutely picture-perfect out today. It's mid-morning right now, and my wife and I are up here today playing a little hooky. Came up for the day to do a little grouse hunting. We don't really have any true agenda, just kind of gonna walk some trails and go through some cuts and see if we come across any birds today. Just let the dogs run and do their thing and enjoy the fall weather. Gonna start off by hunting a cut that's 13 years old this morning, see what we can find and go from there. After this walk here, I'm gonna come back and talk to you guys a little bit about my GPS collar setup, what I use to track my dog, the training collars I use, and just my whole system there and set up with that. So nonetheless, I'm gonna get a dog out now, collar it up, and see if we can go find some birds. Aspen. We've just been cutting down an old logging road next to this aspen cut. Aspen dove into the cover here, 60 yards, locked up on point. I'm gonna make my way to her, see if she's got something. Looks good in here. Got a nice open path to get to her here. It starts to get a little thicker here in front of me where you can see. There's the dog. She's facing away from me here. Good girl, Aspen. It's a woodcock. No, I missed it. It got up and went right behind this little oak tree. It has leaves on it still. It was like the first place it went. Is there another one in here? The dog just went back on point. Yeah, just stay right there. She went back on point. There might be another one sitting in here. I missed that one too. Once again, there's one beechwood tree here with leaves on it. This green one right in front of me. That bird was sitting just in front of it and it took off and went right into that canopy. I had just a small little window at it. I think I shot over top of it. There's a third one right there. That one's gonna land right there. Aspen. I know, I saw that. No, that was a third one. I know, it is like popcorn. Let's see if we can get the dog on this one over here. These are probably flight birds. As I've noticed with birds that are flying down, they don't go too far when they get up. And that bird didn't go 40 yards when it flushed over there, flew over top of our heads and landed. It's because they're tired. They don't want to fly too far. Come on, Aspen. Whoa. Whoa. Good bird. Got that one on the second shot. Dead bird, find. Good girl, here. Here. Good girl. Give. Good job. Nice work. Good job, Aspen. Good girl. Good job.
Nice.
Knob knocker.
Alfredo?
I think these are probably some flight birds that dumped in here.
Migrating ones?
Yeah, migrators. Because this one that I just shot, it flushed right over there, probably 40 or 50 yards from where it landed here. And a lot of times the ones that are migrating and aren't local birds to this specific area, I don't think they fly that far after they flush, just because they're tired or they're trying to conserve energy for their flights at night. So a lot of times they'll flush and they'll just pop up and go 40, 50, 60 yards and then land again real quick. But the birds that are local to an area, when they flush, they get up and go. They're gone.
I got a nice view of that one as it flew over.
Did you? Oh, when it came up over top of us and then landed right here? Yeah, I saw it too. It was cool looking. Ended up moving 4 woodcock and 2 grouse on that last walk. Came out with 1 woodcock, didn't get any shots at the grouse. They actually just flushed next to us. I flushed them on the foot. The dog was out working in front and the bird just happened to flush off the trail next to us there, and I didn't get any shots at the birds. But anyways, it's on to the next spot now. And before we go for the next walk, like I said, I want to talk to you guys about the GPS collars that I run and the whole tracking system that I have. So my system is all Garmin stuff, and some of the stuff I have is a little outdated compared to what they have out there nowadays, but for the most part it all works the same, and the collars are pretty much tomato. They're pretty much the same, minus a few newer features that some of them have nowadays. But so I have, for my GPS unit, it's called the Astro 430 transmitter. And so this is a full GPS unit. It's got a map built into it, tracking built into it. And I use this to connect to the GPS collar that I put on the dog. This is the Garmin T5 mini collar. They have a couple different options available. They have the mini versions and then the full size versions. This is the mini one. The receiver here is a little bit smaller on it compared to the regular one, which has a bigger receiver box on it. I went with the mini just because my dogs range in 24 to 40 pounds and the mini fits them better, I think. The only difference between the mini and the full-size one is the full-size one has longer battery life and it has a little bit extended range on it for tracking. But I think this still reaches out to 8 or 9 miles for tracking. The only thing that would come in use for the extended range is if you're running bear hounds or something like that. But for bird dogs, this has plenty of range on it for me to track my dogs. Generally, they're within 300 yards of me. So 8 to 9 miles max on the tracking on this is more than plenty for a bird dog. So how this works is the GPS unit here connects to this collar, and basically the GPS unit shows me everywhere the dog goes. There is a slight delay in it. It's 2.5 seconds delay, but for the most part, it is pretty much real time. This will show me how far the dog is, the direction the dog is, the track that the dog is doing, and even when the dog goes on point, if I go back to the main map, it'll show me which way the dog is facing. So sometimes I do use that. If the dog is a ways away from me, I'll go back to the map off the track mode, and I'll be able to see which way the dog is facing, and then I can base my approach to the dog, you know, based on how the dog is facing. So if the dog is facing away, I know I can cut out wide and then cut back to the dog to get in front of it instead of just walking straight up from behind the dog to the dog. Now I do also have a watch that I wear, and this watch is a Garmin Instinct, and the watch connects to the GPS unit via Bluetooth. So then the GPS unit transmits to the watch, and now the watch shows me, you know, the same information that's being read on the GPS, how far the dog is, the direction the dog is going. So I have all that right here, right on my wrist. So if this is hanging off of me on my vest and I'm going into a dog on point and I'm trying to find it, I don't have to constantly be picking up this with my hand to be looking and seeing how far the dog is from me. I can just simply, you know, holding my gun. I usually wear the watch on the bottom side of my wrist, so if I'm holding my gun like this and I'm walking in, I can just glance down at my wrist real quick at the watch, and the watch will tell me the dog is 35 yards from you. You're now 20 feet from the dog. The dog is this direction. So this makes it really, really nice to be able to, you know, go into a point while the dog is working something, and I don't have to, I can barely move my eyes, just glance down real quick, see how far the dog is from me, instead of take my hand off my gun, reach down to my GPS unit and look down at it. It's really important here in the Northwoods, I think. Not so much out on the prairie, because visually you can see the dog a ways out in front of you. But here in the Northwoods hunting grouse, you know, you could be 30 yards from the dog and you won't be able to see the dog until you get within several feet of it. So it's really important to me to have the tracking feature on the dog to be able to know exactly where it's at as I'm going into tight cover. Also, I think just a GPS unit overall is one of the best investments that you can make for a bird dog if you're going to have dogs running out in the woods, just because it gives you peace of mind to know where your dog is at all times. I've been in situations where I wouldn't say lost a dog, but I've had a dog take off and go the opposite direction from me and get a little turned around in the woods and not be able to make it back to me, and that dog ends up going 800-900 yards out. And if I didn't have a GPS unit on that dog, I would have no idea where the dog is. So the GPS has saved me a couple times with knowing the dog is going away from me. It's a long ways from me, and I got to go this way to get to the dog. So I've done it a few times, I think twice, where a dog has ran 1,000 yards on me and I've had to track it down with the GPS unit. So outside of being able to track it for pointing and where the dog is working and stuff like that, you know, just having that peace of mind that you're not going to lose a dog is really, really big, especially in the woods, and especially if you're a first-time hunter coming up to hunt grouse, because a lot of these dogs that don't have the experience of working in the woods, they're just used to being on open prairie. You bring them into the woods, it's real easy for those dogs to get turned around. You know, it's happened to my dogs a few times, even in the first of the year, you know, getting back into it. They get turned around in the woods, they lose track of you, and now all of a sudden they're going in a different direction. You know, they think they're trying to come back to you, but they're going the complete wrong direction. And that GPS feature to be able to track the dog and know exactly where they're at and heading so you can track them down is like crucial, I think, especially for grouse hunting. But that's kind of my setup. They do have a couple other collars also available that have prongs on it for the training feature as well. I went with the ones that did not have the training feature on it. I run separate Garmin training collars, so I have two collars on the dog. One is specifically for training and corrections, so a shock collar, and then this one is the tracking collar. I do that because I like having the collar separate. I don't like being dependent on one system. You know, if my GPS batteries die, then I don't lose total control of the dog. I still have, you know, a working and functioning shock collar on the dog if I need to handle it, make a correction, or call the dog back to me. And it's happened a time or two before where I've had, you know, the batteries suddenly die on this. I usually carry a spare on me, but I have been in situations before where it's died on me and I don't have an extra pair of batteries on me. This runs off of just AA batteries. So I usually have a spare in me, but I've had a time or two before where I did not have a spare pair of batteries on me. Some of the other models, like the Alpha GPS units, they are rechargeable themselves. They have the lithium rechargeable in them, but this was just the one that I decided to go with because I felt like I didn't need the training built into the tracking system. I do that separately because, especially too, I also do a lot of training with my dogs where, you know, if we're just in the yard doing something, or I'm letting my dogs out to go to the bathroom or something and I want a collar on them that's a shock collar, I don't need this on them. I just need the training collar. So there's a lot of times where I just use this by itself, and I wanted the training collar specifically just to have for those times where the dog just wasn't running around with a big 12-inch antenna hanging off of it all the time. But they do have versions that have the training prongs built into the GPS collar, so you can have tracking and training in one collar. But I chose to do it separately. You know, it's all up to you and what you want to do, but that's just my reason for doing that. And for the training transmitter itself, this is the Garmin 550 Plus. They have a Pro version as well of this that has a GPS unit built into it at the bottom here, so you can track your dogs with this as well if you didn't want to go the route of the Garmin Alpha or the Garmin Astro. This is more of like the streamlined version that they have that's for tracking. Like I said, that's the Pro version. This is just the 550 Plus, so it does not have the tracking built into it. This is just strictly for training. It has stimulation, it has tone, and vibrate. I don't use the vibrate. I just use the tone if I need to turn a dog in the direction it's going. If the dog's cutting way out to the left and I want it to cut back to the right, I'll just beep it twice, and that dog usually turns and cuts and comes back to me. Outside of that, if I do a correction on a dog, it's because I want the dog to do something. If I say whoa and I want the dog to stop, I'll reinforce it and hit the shock on the dog. If I want the dog to come to me, I'll yell here and then hit the shock on the dog. It's a very light stimulation. I don't turn it up very high, just enough of a nick that says, hey, 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 dog, I'm saying something to you. You better listen. So like I said, this is the Garmin 550 Plus, and this is the Garmin 430 Astro. And then the collars that I have is the Garmin T5 Mini. I'm not exactly sure what the training collar is called. I don't know exactly what model this is, but it is just one of the Garmin training collars, and it connects to this 550 Plus version. And I can run and connect 3 dogs collars to this. I do have 3 of these collars, one for each dog. Well, actually I have 4 dogs, so I double it up on 1 dog. And then I also have 3 of these tracking collars as well. Each dog has their specific own one, but it is also nice to just have a couple extra in case one were to ever go down or something like that. As far as battery life on these, I think it's like close to 20 hours, something like that, of use. I can run these for a good 3 days without having to recharge them. It takes a handful of hours to recharge them. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but once you have a full charge, you can get a couple days hunting out of them. This one here specifically, I have had this collar. This collar is in its 8th season, and it runs just as it did when I purchased it 8 years ago. So I'm not trying to, I'm not sponsored by Garmin or anything. I've purchased all these products out of my own pocket. So, I mean, this is just my own review of, how I've used these products over the last 8 years, and they've all held up for me really, really well. There's a few other brands out there, Sport Dog, Dogtra as well, that make these tracking and training collars. I just decided to go with the Garmin because I think they have a good reputation, and I've had really good success with them over the years. Also, I think like the Dogtra one, it connects to your phone for the GPS unit, and I wanted one that was just a solid handheld unit for the GPS. I didn't want to have to be looking down at my phone or be using my phone battery while I'm out in the field to track a dog. Now again, it might not work 100% like that. I'm just kind of going off of what I think I know about the product. Don't quote me on that exactly though, because I don't have any use with that product before. I just have specific use to the Garmin ones. So that's kind of my setup for how I track and train with my dogs out in the field. So if you guys have any questions about it, just drop a comment down below if I missed anything, and I'll do my best to answer it. But anyways, we're gonna get back to hunting now, go run a couple more spots the rest of the day and see if we can get into some more birds. Been watching Fox on the GPS over here. She's been slowing down, doing some small little circles. When the dog does that, I know they get birdie. I'm watching them on the GPS. She just locked up on pointing here. She's 40 yards in here. Well, I missed. That bird caught me off guard a little bit. I was trying to figure out if it was just a woodcock sitting in here or if there was grouse a little bit farther up on this edge, and I was split. And I didn't know which one to think that it was. I was kind of thinking it was a grouse that was sitting up here. The dog was pretty serious, and she kind of, from that look, I felt like there might have been a woodcock sitting there. And I kept going back and forth. Do I go closer into the dog where she's pointing, or do I push farther up? That woodcock ended up getting up, and I was undecided of what it was yet. Caught me off guard there. It's a nice point. Okay. The old man still got it.
Alright, so we need 4 or 5 grouse and 2 woodcock.
5 grouse and 2 woodcock. That's what we're shooting on this walk.
What if we really did?
If there was a spot to do it, this would be the spot.
Okay. Number working in there?
A little bit. Yeah, she's on point in here. She's 35 yards in here. Dead bird. Ember. Dead bird. Good girl. Here. Good girl. Nice job. Well, see? That happened fast. One more woodcock to go, 5 grouse to go. I'm glad it only took 1 shot because I'm down to my last 15 shells. So I've kind of been telling myself I'm only giving myself 1 shot on woodcock the rest of the day because I don't want to burn through all my shells on woodcock and be down to like 6 of them, still trying to get a grouse. I missed. I shot below it each time. Dead bird. Fetch here. Here. Come here. Good girl. Here. Come here. 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 Ember, here. Good job. It's a really big woodcock.
She held for a long time.
Yeah, she did hold that point for a long time.
What happens to I'm only shooting once at woodcock?
That went out the window. But we got him. So now the woodcock is out of the way. So now I can just shoot at grouse. I ain't gotta waste any more shells on these little mud bats. Yeti and Ember are both locked up together in here. We're on point 50 yards in here. It's a woodcock. Good dogs. Yeti, okay. Come on. Oop, there's a second one. There's a bunch of woodcock droppings in here. Oh, there it goes, right there. Oh, that bird landed right there. He's pointing it again.
He chased right after that. You like that.
I know. It's these flight birds, they don't go very far. There it goes. Good boy. There's a good chance there's a grouse that's been running on us in here. Nope, it's a woodcock. Another woodcock in here. Yep, there it goes. Flight birds are definitely in. Good girl. It's a woodcock. Yep, that bird's just gonna drop 30 yards away. These are definitely flight birds coming through. Oh, there it goes. There's definitely a woodcock sitting here. Yep, there it goes. It's behind the dog. Good boy. Okay. Did you have a good time hunting today, buddy? Well, that's gonna wrap up our day of hunting. It's a pretty fun day. Picture perfect, beautiful October day. Sun was a little warm at some points. At least I thought so. My wife didn't think so, but I thought the sun was a little bit warm at some points. A lot of flight woodcock today. Gosh, I think we probably moved over 20 woodcock altogether. Majority of them coming from this last spot here. So the flights are definitely coming down, because I don't think these were local resident birds, because like I mentioned earlier in the video, the birds were just getting up and hopping 30-40 yards and re-landing. That's usually a pretty good sign that they're flight birds, because those birds aren't familiar with the area and they're tired and they want to save their energy and they don't want to fly too far when they get bumped. So the flight birds are coming down, a lot of action. It's a lot of fun seeing the dogs go to point from all those woodcock, but at the same time, it does get just a little bit annoying, just because you're trying to keep moving through the area and I'm looking for grouse and the dogs are just getting caught up pointing woodcock after woodcock after woodcock. But nonetheless, it's always fun to see the dogs pointing something and birds flying. So I think that's going to wrap up this video, wrap up our day here. If you guys have any other further comments or questions on my GPS system or setup, let me know down below. Thanks for following along. Good luck if you're out there hunting, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.